Hi, let's talk about why you're having polycystic ovarian syndrome, PCOS, the three distinct causes and the way out. For some months now, I've been getting referred cases of women with reproductive issues such as uterine fibroids, ovarian cyst, and polycystic ovarian syndrome. And most of these women are not even up to 18 years of age. And so I started to pay extra attention to these conditions, and today I want to talk to you about polycystic ovarian syndrome and the way out. I have already 2 videos on the causes and the solutions to treating your uterine fibroid and ovarian cyst. You can check them out. When you go online, many of the information out there tells you it is related to genetic factors or environmental factors. You don't really get a substantive information on the solution to treating your PCOS, and that is why I'm bringing this important video to you right there where you are. And I want to explain to you the simplicity of polycystic ovarian syndrome, the 3 distinct causes, and why you are getting this condition at that early stage. I'm also going to give you the best solution to this condition in our next video. Although by knowing the 3 distinct causes, you may have a fair idea about the solution. So let's break this condition down called polycystic ovarian syndrome to you. First of all, it is a hormonal disorder, and the poly means many or more than one. The cystic means fluid sac or cyst, but in reality, it is not a cyst itself, but the follicles, and these are the eggs. That means your ovaries are producing too many follicles, causing the ovaries to be enlarged. So you could have called it polyfollicular ovarian syndrome instead. And the syndrome means a group of symptoms or disorder that points to or suggestive of a disease. And the symptoms of PCOS include menstrual irregularities, that is infrequent or prolonged menstrual cycle. And often than not, almost all patients that I have seen who were diagnosed with PCOS initially present with either amenorrhea or menorrhagia and lower abdominal pain. You could also have excess androgens, hair growth on the body, infertility, obesity, thinning of the hair on your body, and even acne. So why are a lot of women developing PCOS suddenly and even at that early stage? What is the root cause of PCOS? I want to tell you about the 3 causes of polycystic ovarian syndrome. And if you look at the syndrome or the collection of symptoms we just looked at, they give us some level of information about what really causes polycystic ovarian syndrome. So based on the symptoms, we are able to tell what causes PCOS, and they are connected to one another. And the first cause is hyperinsulinemia, that is high levels of insulin in your blood from eating too much of refined sugar or foods high in fructose. And one symptom of PCOS is high levels of androgens. So when you have too much of insulin, you're going to have a spike of IGF, and IGF is insulin-like growth factors, and this IGF converts to more androgens, increasing your risk of developing tumors or cysts in different parts of the body. When you have persistent high levels of insulin, the effect is that you're going to develop what we call insulin resistance, and insulin levels are rarely checked. What we check mostly is your glucose level, and what you need to know is that you can have normal levels of glucose or blood sugar, and yet your insulin levels may be way high off the mark. So we can't determine what is happening with your insulin by just checking your glucose level. There's a test called the insulin C peptide test for checking insulin levels, and the danger to having high levels of insulin is that you are one step closer to getting diabetes or pre-diabetes. So excess sugar is a real culprit of polycystic ovarian syndrome. So cut off or cut down the intake of refined sugar or foods high in fructose. The next cause is the consumption of excess GMO foods or foods exposed to herbicides or weedicides. You see, we are eating too much of foods, both plants and animal-based, exposed to herbicides and a lot of the GMO foods. And there's a chemical in these herbicides or GMO foods called glyphosate. And what this chemical does when you consume these foods is that this chemical blocks certain chain reactions in the body. There's a sac around the eggs in your ovaries that makes androgens, and these androgens are supposed to be converted to estrogen by the enzyme called aromatase cytochrome 450. This enzyme is responsible for key step in the biosynthesis of estrogens, but this chemical called glyphosate blocks the activity of the enzyme, and so the effect is that you're going to get a buildup of androgens because the chain reaction has been blocked. Now you can understand why so many women are getting polycystic ovarian syndrome at that early stage. It is because we are eating too many foods exposed to these chemicals, and not just plants but also animal foods, because these animals also feed on these plants exposed to those chemicals, and we as human beings also feed on these animals as well. So this chemical also disbalances estrogen and progesterone and increase the risk of developing tumors in different parts of the body. And the last distinct reason why you are getting polycystic ovarian syndrome is because of high levels of adrenal activities. You see, high levels of cortisol as a result of stress also makes your adrenal gland overreactive, and this increases the production of androgens in the women. And the more androgens in the body, the more the ovaries produce these follicles, disbalancing the hormones, and you start to see the symptoms of polycystic ovarian syndrome. So here the culprit is excess stress for the women. Now that we know the three distinct causes of PCOS, we have a fair idea of what to do to prevent or even lessen this condition. In our next video, I'm going to talk to you about the best solution to treating polycystic ovarian syndrome. And if you want to know more about uterine fibroid, it is right here. Don't forget to give us a like, subscribe, and share this video with all your loved ones, especially the women. Hey, always remember that God wants you healthy. Your health, your life.